Good evening
Good
and
evening.
welcome to the League of Women Voters of St. Lucie County Candidate Forum for the 2022 election year. I am Sabrina Taylor, the current president of the St. Lucie League. And just a quick few reminders and important information before we get started. And thank you for making the time out of your busy schedule to join us this evening. Do we have the dates?
Hold on, they're coming. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. We apologize, just a brief delay. So while we're waiting on the important dates, important information I'd like to share with you, we have a really nice feature for this year as well. It is vote411.org, and it is a website in which you can access to get yet more information about the candidates who are vying for your vote to be able to serve you, the voting public. So Vote 411, you go into the website, as I mentioned, put in your name, your address, your local address, and then those candidates that are related to your address will populate for you to, again, also to get more information about those particular candidates as well. So what we have before you, of course, is our website. The League of Women Voters is www.lwvslc.org. The Supervisor of Elections Office for St. Lucie County, it's www.slelections.com. And of course, early voting begins on August 13th and concludes on August 20th. The hours are from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Election day is August 23rd for the primary election. Those hours are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And also for this election period, please know that you will need both your photo and signature identification as required as well. So there are some early voting locations in which you can go and cast your ballot. First is the Paula A. Lewis Library in Port St. Lucie, located at 2950 South Rosser Boulevard. Still in Port St. Lucie is the Community Center, which is located 2195 Southeast Aroso Boulevard. And third is the Mid-Florida Credit Union Event Center, also known as the Civic Center, located at 9221 Southeast Event Center Place. And there are two Fort Pierce locations. The first being the Zora Neale Hurston Library, located 3008 Avenue D. And of course, the Renaissance Business Park, formerly known as the Orange Blossom Business Center, located at 4132 Okeechobee Road. And lastly, there is a new location in Port St. Lucie, the Indian River State College Veterans Center of Excellence, also known as the Pruitt Campus, located at 500 Northwest California Boulevard. So now on to the forum, which is the real reason why you had chosen to spend some time with us this evening. Tonight, we will hear from candidates vying for the office of mayor. The format for tonight's forum will consist of a 90-second introduction by each candidate, followed by a series of questions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer each question and a 2-minute closing statement. The order of candidates were randomly selected prior to the start of this forum. Also know this is not a debate. So the candidates will make their statements and we will then move on to the next candidate or the next question. Lastly, candidates will be alerted at the 30-second mark and again when their time is up. Our moderator for the forum is none other than Carol Wyatt. Carol is the co-owner and operator of local radio stations WPSL in Port St. Lucie, WSTU in Stewart, and WJNX in Fort Pierce. She is also the president of WPSL Christmas Kids of St. Lucie County. She is the past president of the Rotary Club of Port St. Lucie and a member of Port St. Lucie Businesswomen. Carol has many years in broadcasting, including as a reporter in Los Angeles prior to moving to Florida in 1993. The League is so honored to have her as our candidate forum moderator yet for another year. And now I turn it over to Carol. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Sabrina. As always, we thank the members of the League for developing the questions for tonight's forum. We thank the candidates for participating. And most of all, we thank you for listening, for watching, for informing yourselves about the upcoming election. So tonight, Port St. Lucie Mayor's race, it is a citywide race for a term of 4 years. The incumbent, Shannon Martin, is running for re-election. The challengers, Chancellor Howell, Robert Bobby Johnson, and Michael Moses. And we'll begin with opening statements, 1 minute, 30 seconds each. We start with Chancellor Howell.
Good evening. Good evening, the League of Women Voters and all of the wonderful constituents of the city of Port St. Lucie. Again, my name is Dr. Chancellor Howell, and I'm pleased to be amongst you and amongst this esteemed panel of contestants. I only know one way to speak to you, and that is from the heart. Whereas all of the candidates who have put their name in the hat, to include our wonderful incumbent, they all have courage. It takes courage to do what we have chosen to do. And our answer for all of us that we love the city of Port St. Lucie. Nonetheless, for this race, I believe that for the time and place and era that the city of Port St. Lucie in, that I bring the requisite knowledge and skill sets and people skills to the table where we are going as a city as a whole. The bottom line is I spent 20 years in the Marine Corps and I haven't done anything that anybody else can do or can't do. So let me put that disclaimer in there. At any rate, as a scholar, a local business owner, I think I embody all of those things that are necessary to lead our city to prosperity. Again, my name is Chancellor Howell, and I humbly ask for your support in this race.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to our next candidate, Michael Moses.
Hello. Hi, my name is Michael Moses. As stated, I agree with Mr. Howell that everyone running deserves a thank you for the courage of presenting different ideas that they have, which makes them the best candidate. I believe my background as an attorney for 45 years, working with the state comptroller's office in Illinois, where I learned contracts and integrating them with government and how finances work between the people and the government. I then went to work on the state's attorney's office in the civil division, the health division. I represented people that had complaints against nursing homes, daycare centers, and other somewhat environmental questions. And then I went to work for the sheriff of Cook County, where I was the chief attorney, and I did all the union contracts, and I advised him on all legal matters. And at that time, we had about 3,500 people in the office. Then went to private practice, where I was a neighborhood lawyer, and I represented the people. And I believe I could be a voice for the people that's not usually heard. You know, the people that live on pensions, the people that live from paycheck to paycheck, and people who sometimes their voices are not heard because of lobbyists or developers who get their way. And I think I'll do a good job, and I think I'm qualified to be mayor.
Okay, thank you. Now let's hear opening statement, Robert Bobby Johnson.
Hello, thank you for having me. I am 32 years old and I have a beautiful family, 2 kids, Maya and Eli, and a beautiful wife who I've been married to for over a decade now. We attend Christ Fellowship. We spend most of our time trying to volunteer now a lot into the church and spending time there as much as we can. We've been longtime church goers ever since I was 5 years old. And I think I could truly be the best leader that Port St. Lucie has seen in a long time, based off what we have seen in the past and how the current city is continuing to go off the rails a little bit. I think I can get us right back onto there. I have an extension, a very good experience in the IT and infrastructure side, as well as cybersecurity. And I spent a lot of time in financial management as well, saving companies up to $6 million for one project alone. So I truly believe I could bring a lot of success to Port St. Lucie and bring in the infrastructure. And I would like the opportunity to be able to do that. That is all for me.
Okay, thank you. Opening statement now, Shannon Martin.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm Shannon Martin. And to give you a little bit of background about me, I've been married to my husband, Aaron, for 21 years now. He is a police officer in our police department. We have two amazing children who are 18 and 19 years old, and our daughter is off to college this Saturday. And I was elected mayor in the special election last fall in September, but I've proudly served on the city council for the last 12 years. And I have extensive knowledge and experience on all city-related matters, and I've worked tirelessly in a full-time capacity since being first elected in 2010. I have played an integral role in where the city was and how the city is today, and to leading our city exactly where it is today. And I want to continue serving our residents, serving our community, our businesses, and working with city staff and other local elected leaders, state and federal leaders, and other agencies on issues that are important to our city. For a city of our size, we are now the 7th largest city. It takes someone with seasoned and dedicated leadership in order to move our city forward in the right direction. And I have that experience, and I want to keep serving the city and serving our residents, and to make Port St. Lucie the very best it can be.
Okay, thank you. Now each of you will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. And as you know, we'll rotate who gets each question first. We'll be starting with Michael Moses. The biggest issue brought to our attention by Port St. Lucie residents is, you guessed it, garbage collection of the last 2 years, the city's perceived inability to handle it. In your opinion, is this problem adequately resolved? How do you intend to prevent a problem like this occurring with other services in the future? Mr. Moses.
Well, the question has it adequately been solved? We don't know yet, because the new waste hauler has not taken over in September. But I will say one of the reasons why I'm running is because of failure of this administration to solve the problem with Waste Pro. When this administration took Waste Pro to court, they made certain promises that they would force Waste Pro to comply with the contract or hire third parties to do Waste Pro's work. That never happened. Then for some reason, this administration stopped paying Waste Pro. In February, Waste Pro wrote a letter to the city manager. You're not paying us. You're trying to get out of the contract, or whatever it is, and you're defaulting on the contract. And Waste Pro then left because of the actions of this administration. Then for some reason, the city decided to have a $4.8 million no bid contract to buy the carts before, this is important, before the waste hauler in April. And then we would have to pay for the carts over the next 10 years. So at a time of high inflation and high diesel prices, and of course, when I mean inflation, I'm talking about how people can pay for food and other necessities. We had to sign a 10-year contract with the waste hauler. I think it's 7 years plus a 3-year extension, because after all, what we should have done is have a 4-year contract, because we were paying such high prices. But we couldn't do that, because since we were paying for the 10 years for the carts, and if we had a 4-year contract and then the new waste hauler did not want our carts, we'd be paying double. So, and then in addition, as everyone knows, there's additional costs. We are paying more money for less service, and that's unacceptable. It's one of the reasons why I'm running for mayor.
Okay, thank you. Now, our next person will be Mr. Johnson. Is the problem adequately resolved, and how would you prevent a problem like this in the future?
So right now it is not adequately resolved, for sure. I'm still having issues with my own house getting picked up on time. It's pretty ridiculous. And I continue to watch videos of the current leadership saying that, yes, it should be resolved by next week, and oh, it should be resolved by next week. And it continues to just be lies on top of lies, and we continue to have the same issue. It's not a solution just because we have a contract in place several months later. It's not a good solution at all. And on top of that, we are paying now $423 on a yearly basis, which used to be $284. So why are we now only going to get back $35 as a, sorry, we made a mistake, here you go? It doesn't really make sense. It doesn't add up. And on top of that, they're only going to be picking up now one day out of the entire week. And I'm sure a lot of people out there are just like me, where sometimes you slip and you forget to take your garbage out. Well, what happens if you put spoiled meat in your garbage and you happen to forget to take it out that day? Now it's going to be sitting there in your garage or wherever you keep your garbage can for several more days. So you have a potential of letting soiled garbage sitting for up to 13 to 14 days before it gets collected. It's not a good answer at all. And we should have done better with our resources and better preventative measures instead of waiting until it became an issue.
Okay, next, Shannon Martin. Is this problem adequately resolved? How do you intend to prevent a problem like this occurring with other services?
So unfortunately, we were put in the position by Waste Pro that they decided they were the ones that terminated the contract. Since last September, when we sued them, we did everything we could to work with them. Everything under the law, legally, with our team of in-house attorneys to work with Waste Pro. That unfortunately failed because they did not want to work with us and they wanted to terminate the contract early. We never stopped paying Waste Pro. We continued to pay them, but we assessed administrative charges against them. In addition, unfortunately, because of the short time frame that we had in order to get a new hauler on board, we had to purchase the carts separately. And although we didn't go out to bid, under state law, cities can piggyback off of other cities' contracts. So we piggybacked off the Fort Lauderdale's contract to get the lowest price possible and to be able to get the carts in time in order for the new service to begin. And yes, the problems are continuing, but how did we resolve that? We were able to supplement service by leasing city trucks to address the situation. And we leased the maximum amount of trucks we could in order to supplement that service. And we tried to get other waste haulers to come in to help, but unfortunately, none of the other waste haulers could provide the resources necessary. So we've supplemented the service. We've resolved the issue by getting a new hauler, and we are getting one that to start September 5th. Everything's going smooth with that. And we're looking forward to September 5th. I know everyone in the city is. It might not be the most perfectly smooth transition, but we are going to move forward and it's going to continue to get better. And we're going to get back to consistent, reliable service for Port St. Lucie.
Okay, thank you. For Chancellor Howell, is this problem adequately resolved, and how do you prevent problems like this in the future?
Well, the answer is no. It has not been adequately resolved simply because it has been going on for 3 years now. And I think there's been ample amount of time for the current administration to address how to bring it to some type of plausible resolution. So that's the first answer. My biggest concern, ladies and gentlemen, is that it can easily morph into an issue that is unhealthy for all of us. We must keep in mind that we're still in the COVID era, all right? Port St. Lucie was one of the cities, and I'm not just going to put it on the city of Port St. Lucie, but I'm going to say the Treasure Coast was one of the most liberal regions in the country when COVID first came around. So, and we still have people that are battling that right now. But when you add that and couple that with what's going on with the waste management situation, I think that we're in a bad situation right now. Now, I'm going to say, as I said in previous forums, I'm not going to sit back and throw, grenades per se at the current administration, because they perhaps were privy to more information than those of us that are outside of the ropes. But we have to do better. And I'm more interested in looking at resolutions such as pay as you throw that will create a win-win situation for the city and its residents. And that is a program and a strategy that is backed by the EPA at the federal level that has proven to be successful in other parts of the country. And I think in the interim, that's what we should look at to implement here, in addition to getting our own sanitation workers for the city. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Move on to our next question, starting with Mr. Johnson. Port St. Lucie has grown in population exponentially over the last 2 decades. This trajectory of growth is not projected to end anytime soon. So what actions do you propose to address this level of growth? Mr. Johnson.
Yes, so we need to address the way we're developing. We continue to overdevelop every piece of land that we have. And right now we still have a decent amount of green, but it's quickly disappearing. And obviously it's with the large amount of people that are coming in, but you can have a large amount of people coming in without destroying everything around it. Right now, the basic philosophy that I keep seeing is they just wipe the land completely without trying to save anything, and then they build wide. They need to try to start building up and getting more higher buildings versus just going wide and completely just destroying the environment, and on top of that, the wildlife that goes with it, and the ability to attract visitors, because you don't want to come as a visitor to Port St. Lucie to an area of a bunch of scattered lots all around the city. You want to come to a city that looks established, and having visitors is super important to making additional money for the city, reducing the tax dollar. We're proud of saving taxes and very little amount of taxes. We could save a lot more in taxes by increasing the cash flow for Port St. Lucie, but we have to make it attractable. And just by letting people come in and build wherever they want continually, it's going to destroy our city. Once the land is gone, it's gone. And we continue to just not think for the very far future, and we just keep thinking of what we could do now.
Okay, thank you. Shannon Martin, same question. What actions do you propose to address the tremendous growth in Port St. Lucie?
So the city already has policies in place to address growth and development. And it's part of our comprehensive planning process and our development process that begins through the Planning and Zoning Department. And all development applications that come in go through several levels of oversight before they even get to the council. But you have to also understand the way our city was formulated and founded. We were founded with 80,000 single-family platted lots, which came with the inherent right to develop single-family homes on those lots. So unless there is a specific public purpose, like the need for water and sewer lines or to build a road, the city can't just stop those lots from being developed. In addition, our city has several DRIs, or developments of regional impact. The first was St. Lucie West over 30 years ago. And then over 20 years ago, we have Southern Grove and Olive Tradition. And those developments of regional impact that were not only approved by the city, but also by the state, also come with development rights. So we can't take those entitlements away, but what we can do is balance them out and make sure that they are being planned the way they're supposed to be through our camp plan, meeting our zoning code and meeting our ordinances. And so anyone that says that we can stop development in the city of Port St. Lucie, that is absolutely not true. So if that is stated, that will not be a true statement at all. And also, we have programs in place that address our environment, and we're constantly looking at that, like our land preservation plan that we implemented earlier this year. And also, since I've become mayor, we've gotten stricter. I've gotten stricter, and the city council has also gotten stricter with the growth that's happening. We're looking at each development much more closely, and we're also making those developers do extra in order to want to be here. If you want to be here and build in Port St. Lucie, you have to have skin in the game, and we're going to make you address our infrastructure.
Okay, thank you. Next, Chancellor Howell, what actions would you propose to deal with the tremendous growth?
Well, that's one area I do agree with the mayor, because, you know, since she's been on the dais for 12 years, I know for a fact she's seen that strategic plan, that 30-year strategic plan, you know, continuously adjust on the fly. And for good reason, because I remember when Southern Grove, it was just wooded area or whatever, but it is on track to become something larger than what it was. And I'm happy to hear that on the east side, now the situation with City Center in mid-Florida, that something is going to be done with those plots around mid-Florida, because that is a beautiful building on the east side of town that I believe is waiting on something big to happen as well. But the bottom line is we have to continue to adjust and adapt to the growth that's coming here. We're strategically located 2 hours north of Miami, 2 hours south of Orlando. And you can enjoy those areas, but still live in a place that has access to beaches, has beautiful, you know, affordable homes so far. We got to keep an eye on that, because in some instances that's getting carried away. But the bottom line is we can't stop people from moving here. And there are two factions, there are two schools of thought, I should say. There are the people who grew up and were raised here and saying, we need to do A, B, C, and D to grow a little. And then you have those individuals that move from bigger cities who say, whoa, wait a minute. I don't want to move here because I just left a major municipality on the eastern border of South Florida, and I wanted to slow down. So the only way we could manage that properly is pay attention to the amount of permits that we give out in a given calendar year. But other than that, the people are going to come, and we just have to make sure our infrastructure stays in place to manage that along with our services.
Okay, for Michael Moses, what actions would you propose to address growth?
Well, first of all, as mayor, I would be more transparent to the people. And this is one thing I'm campaigning on. I would have meetings in every district, every 6 months, a year, a month, to tell the people the following facts. How much undeveloped land is there in your district? Who owns it, and how is it zoned? So people have an idea of what's coming next. It's not just enough for the city council and the mayor to know what's going on. The people have a right to know what's going on, and they can make their decisions. And so that if they want to object to a change, on a zoning parcel, or if they want to tell the developer they have to do certain things, it shouldn't just be the city council making these demands, but it should be the city council and the mayor with the people making these demands. And that's also why I asked the city council to make single member districts, which, as you know, we vote at large for everyone in the city votes for every single member on the city council. I believe that only the people in District 1, for example, should vote for the representative in District 1. I think that bring more ideas. I think there'd be more accountability. If the person who represented District 1 could only be voted on by the people of District 1, I think there's a chance to have more diversity. And I think it'd be less expensive. It's very expensive to run for office. I myself am not taking money from developers. I would pass an ordinance which says if you do business with the city, that you can't give money to the people that are running for the city council, including the mayor. But I want to have the people involved. I want them to know what's going on, not just the city council. And I pledge to do that. And I pledge to do that immediately after the people, if they decide to vote for me.
Okay, next question begins with Shannon Martin. With the rise in population comes traffic. Port St. Lucie is spread out and covers a large area. How do you propose addressing the traffic concerns of residents?
So we are addressing the traffic concerns by addressing our infrastructure. And if you look around the city right now, you'll see several infrastructure projects happening. Floresta Drive is a half-cent sales tax project. Phase 1 is just about completed. We're about to start phase 2. Port St. Lucie Boulevard South is a several phase project, and 1 and 2, the phases for 1 and 2 are happening right now. There are infrastructure projects happening on the Gatlin interchange starting very soon. The interchange for St. Lucie West, the bridge widening is happening. Also, it's important to talk about our mobility plan. We've recently went from impact fees to a mobility fee structure, which gives the city much more flexibility on how to spend those transportation dollars. And so we're making sure that we're coming up with our future phase 2 of our priority projects, which will include St. Lucie West Boulevard, Torino Parkway, putting in roundabouts instead of 4-way stops in high traffic areas. And also need to mention that 4 members of the city council are on the St. Lucie County Transportation Planning Organization. And I've been on that ever since I was elected in 2010. And we focus solely on all the needs in the transportation network and sidewalks that are necessary in the county. We get money from the state in order to help us fund these very expensive projects. And so those are programmed in on a 5-year interval process. And we're constantly looking at our Go 2045 plan to plan for the future infrastructure and to deal with the traffic issues in Port St. Lucie. And we also have a traffic unit in our police department that deals specifically with traffic related issues and addresses speeding as well.
Okay, for Chancellor Howell, how do you propose addressing the traffic concerns?
Well, since we're talking about traffic, during my campaigning efforts, I come across some residents who live along Crosstown, which is the newest thoroughfare that we have in the city. And unfortunately, the complaint that's happening there now with those people living on there is the noise that is taking place there. So what I would do, along with looking at the sidewalks and bike lanes, because I personally race bicycles a couple of times a year and cycling, and I have to practice like other people out there who do it for exercises. At any rate, we need to look at establishing some type of sound bearing wall on Tradition Highway. And also, I like that the city, and I got to give credit where it is due, okay? The city is expanding some of the roads, as you see on Port St. Lucie as you go south, Port St. Lucie Boulevard. It's a pain in the neck right now because when I want to get to the gas station over there, then I have to take scenic routes to get there. But I understand the purpose of the building that's taking place. And each time that I see, whether it's a high school student or let's say a K through 12 student that has been hit by an automobile or an adult, like the person who got killed a couple of weeks ago, that makes me think about the sidewalks that we need. We can't get those done fast enough. So I think the city is on track with that. I will continue that effort to make sure that enough funds are allocated to make it happen even faster than what it is. So infrastructure, infrastructure, infrastructure.
Okay, thank you. Michael Moses, addressing the traffic concerns.
Well, Mr. Howell brought up the Crosstown Expressway, and I agree with him about making it more soundproof. But I also have to say that was probably one of the worst designs. I don't live far from Floresta and the Crosstown, where you can't go straight either way. You have to make like a half circle to get it north or south or east or west. And I'm glad no one else has that in any of their future designs. But again, the question is transparency, talk to people. I think what other speakers have said makes sense, except we have to get the people involved and see what exactly they want. And the more sidewalks, the better. And that's, some people have said to me, well, can we change that crosstown? Can we spend money on that crosstown to make it like a normal situation, north, south, east, west, at Crosstown or Floresta? And I said, no, we need the money for sidewalks. We need the money for other things. And we have to be sure that the people that live on Crosstown have the sound barrier. And I would just continue to talk to the people and see what else they need. Thank you.
Okay, for Robert Johnson, same question, addressing traffic.
Yeah. So my first question is, who designed these roundabouts? These roundabouts are an absolute joke. And they finally had one that they fixed in tradition. After the course of a year, they finally fixed it and put like the right actual printout on the street with these little deflectors to keep people from going in the wrong lanes. But it took them about a few years to actually finally make one roundabout the correct roundabout. We still have hundreds of others, I'm sure. I haven't seen one other roundabout that is actually correctly designed the right way. The city has proven that it easily gets overwhelmed by juggling too much, and we need to be able to expedite all of these projects simultaneously, but with the right leadership and project management skills, with the addition of funding. But the city has proven its hardship on bringing new visitors to the area and being able to establish funding and any other unique creative ways. And I did want to touch base on that super street that Moses brought up. It's a good point. It's been annoying the crap out of a lot of residents. That the one on Floresta and Crosstown, it's just it's a joke. It's a very stupid intersection, to say the least. So I think we really just need to focus on these items. Another thing is, I know I keep hearing that people say that they're focusing on infrastructure, and I'm not hearing it. I'm hearing it a lot, but I'm not seeing it. And look at Glades Cutoff Road, for example. There's a school right there, and there's a development right there. And people today, from the first day of school, that people are, it's a 2-lane road. Let me paint the picture for you. Okay, 2 lanes, and construction workers that are hired for the jobs that the city approved are getting sick of waiting in lines for these schools. So now they're going into oncoming traffic. Well, if you're playing chicken with a semi in your car, you're going into the grass. And we saw that today. Many cars going in the grass because they don't want to get ran over by the semis and the construction trucks that are going the opposite way. It's an absolute nightmare, and we're seeing it everywhere.
Thank you. We'll move on to our next question. We'll start with Chancellor Howell. The city has secured agreements with multiple corporations over the last few years that bring numerous jobs to our area. However, some feel the diversity of employment here is not adequate for a population with varying levels of education and skills. So how do you intend to further diversify the economy to meet the skills of the population?
Well, diversity is one of those terms that is loosely used. When I become mayor, I would beforehand, before we allow any organization to come in here, you first they have to have had an established track record wherever they're coming from, that to show the residents that they offer jobs for individuals that are college graduates and those who have no interest in going to college and they just have a high school diploma. And also salaries that are commensurate to the skill sets that are brought to the table. What I will not do is allow any organization to come to the city of Port St. Lucie and use us as a proving ground or a test, to test a theory out, so to speak. That is something that I would not tolerate. Again, going back to my previous point, we have individuals who lived here for a certain amount of time. They were born and raised here, and you have individuals who have moved here from other areas. So you got those two schools of thought competing about how we should grow. And in order for us to grow and to be able to live, work, and play here, we have to bring organizations here that will allow individuals to do that. We don't want people living here, but they have to continue to drive to West Palm Beach and Dade County or Orlando to go to work, or Brevard County, and then come back home. We need to be a place that you can live, work, and play here with salaries and organizations that we can be proud of.
Okay, same question to Mr. Moses. How do you intend to further diversify the economy to meet the skills of the population?
Well, I think you also have to I'm sorry, what is the image of Port St. Lucie? When people think of Port St. Lucie, how can we attract people to come here to work in these companies? Because what these companies do is look to see who can we attract to work in our businesses? What type of skill do we need? And will these people come to Port St. Lucie if Port St. Lucie itself cannot provide enough of the workforce? And people want it, so we're competing against Salt Lake City, we're competing against Miami to get these businesses. And so we need more of an identity as a city. And I would work on that first. And then, of course, to tell these businesses, this is what Port St. Lucie is. This is who we are, whether it's the Met Stadium or Tradition. I have some ideas for the city center. I'd like to see like a children's museum there. I'd like to see a friendly neighborhood cultural hub. I'd like to see little restaurants. We don't have a downtown, so it's hard to make an image. So I'd like to make the cultural center on the east side of the city to become like the place where people want to go and take a walk, just like they have in Tradition. But I think if you have a cultural center, if you have a museum, if you have activities at the city center, then you can draw on businesses who believe we can get the workforce, as Mr. Howell says, with college graduates, with high school graduates. But you have to offer these businesses something that no other city has. And I think by developing the city center and by developing other areas in the city, I think we can do that.
Okay, next, Bobby Johnson, how would you further diversify the economy to meet the skills of the population?
Yeah, so I completely understand, and I'm seeing a lot of these average paying jobs that we're bragging about at about $15 to $17 an hour. But let's be honest, you can't live off of that. You can't rent, you can't mortgage. It's not possible. And we're going to continue this trend with the current leadership because we keep building this way, and it's the only way we currently know how to, apparently. So we're going to continue bringing in those kind of jobs, unfortunately. But if we get new leadership in, and if I get in, we build up, we reach out and we put the footwork in, and we don't wait around for others to do it for us. We need to be in it ourselves. We need to get our hands dirty. We need to see if we can create some kind of zoning plan to allow us to have some type of mini city high rise with biophilic design, incorporating the environment around it so we're not just destroying it. And these will bring higher paying corporate jobs. We reach out to labs and hire tech companies to bring in headquarters if we can, instead of just the manufacturing plants. You know, Amazon was great, but it would have been great to see a corporate Amazon, not the manufacturing plant. You know, we need to create a downtown feel with high quality eateries, high quality shopping centers, again, raising the bar for Port St. Lucie living. So you attract more people, and by attracting more people and having the corporate type jobs, hopefully we can start to build out an airport. But we can't even build out an airport. Chancellor, if you can put yourself on mute, thanks. But yeah, basically we need to build out an airport, and then we can have the corporate jobs actually coming in and out of the city. And we can't bring visitors or corporate jobs here because of that. So again, Chancellor, if you can put yourself on mute because you're showing right now. But yes, that's what we need to focus on. Sorry, I keep getting distracted.
That's not me. It's not coming from my camp.
Okay, well, thank you. Let's move on. Shannon Martin, how would you further diversify the economy to meet the skills of the population?
So our strategic plan has been all along was to build a Southern Grove jobs corridor. And when we embarked on that, we did the Southern Grove master plan. And we had an economic development study done by economic experts that could tell us really what the targeted industries and what the right fit was for Port St. Lucie. And those results determined that medical, manufacturing, warehouse distribution were the targeted industries that fit our community best. And so over the last 5 to 6 years, you can see how strong the economic development has been with the partnership of our county, our Economic Development Council of St. Lucie County, our Chamber of Commerce, and we have attracted those higher paying jobs above the median of the county to our jobs corridor. We have TAMCO, we have FedEx, we have Excel coming out of the ground, Oculus Surgical. We have Cheney Brothers Food Distribution, 2 Amazons now. We have Jan Steel in the LTC Ranch area, Total Truck Parts coming. We have Galleria Farms and LTC Ranch as well on the northern end, which is a flower distribution. Not to mention, look at all that has been accomplished with Cleveland Clinic and the spinoffs for the medical industry there. And we also down the road on Becker Road have Tenet Healthcare coming in. And to go back to Cleveland Clinic, the city is in contract now with Cleveland Clinic for another 40 acres for a hospital. So we are constantly looking to diversify. And on top of that, we have another 3 economic development projects that are in progress right now that will be coming to city council very soon, of over 2.5 million more square feet of warehouse distribution and manufacturing. The country knows, the world knows that Port St. Lucie is the place to be for economic development, in Florida especially. We have the land and we're going to continue to make that happen so our residents don't have to continue to go down south to work.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to our next question. Begin with Mr. Moses. Port St. Lucie is a predominantly residential city. Based on the original plans of the General Development Corporation, there are still single-family resident lots to build on. Is following the original plans of GDC the best course of action for the city, or should adjustments be made to better reflect our current needs?
Well, like I think I said earlier, if a property is zoned for a certain purpose, there's not much anyone can do about that. Now, we can talk to developers and say, what exactly are you planning? What are the type of roads? What type of green space you're going to have? We can force them to make adjustments to help the people, but it goes back to, again, what I first said, I think in the second question, which is tell the people what's going on in the area. Ask them what's going on. It shouldn't just be a decision by the city council, but it has to be a decision by the city council and the people of Port St. Lucie. And perhaps we have some city lots over there, and instead of selling them to like a developer, maybe we should just keep it as a green space. I think that's what people want. People want to know what's going on. They want more green space. They feel like there's just houses, and they don't know what's going on. And I'll be more transparent in my judgment, what myself as mayor and what the city council will do. We need a partnership. And until we find out exactly how much undeveloped land there is, who owns it and how it's zoned, it's kind of hard to answer that question. The only people who know that is the mayor and the city council. I believe, if not all, most of them take donations from the developers. And I'm not taking money from the developers, and because I represent the people, not the big corporations. Thank you.
Okay, next on that one, Mr. Johnson, follow the original plans of GDC or make adjustments?
We need to make change. We continue to be in the mindset back in 2010 when she first started as a district councilwoman, and unfortunately, she did mention that they are becoming more stricter. I would like to seen that 10 years ago. Why now, right? Well, because obviously a lot of people are pissed off. Let's be frank. People are kind of tired of seeing the city just not being put to its full potential. And it's it's really disappointing. And yeah, like I said earlier, we look like a bunch of scattered lots from the sky. It's like, who wants to go there? But we need to beautify it more. And we keep investing in building more parks. Listen, I get that we should have parks. No one's disagreeing with that. But let's focus on the ones that we have. I mean, there's a park right next to me in Port St. Lucie that now people are basically abandoning, just going to other parks. And you see that trend with other parks. They just continue to build more. Other ones become vacant and they become disgusting and they're not maintained. So we need to change. We need to look at this housing thing. We need to have a better plan of action in the future, especially because of the issue with rent being just extremely high for anybody to afford with the wages that the city's bringing to the table. So it just doesn't make sense. It seems like we don't have an overall goal or project. It seems like nobody put in the time and effort to do this. And that's what we need to do. Let's maintain what we have, and let's start even going back and putting pressure on the residents that are letting their property go to crap and making the city look terrible. You know, we have ordinances for a reason. Let's follow them.
Okay, thank you. Shannon Martin, same question. Following the original plans for GDC, is that the best course of action, or should we make adjustments?
So like I mentioned earlier, our city was planned with 80,000 single family lots, and that came with the inherent right for people to build single family homes on those lots. I also mentioned about our planning and zoning process and how when an application comes in, it goes through several levels in order to address whether or not those developments meet our comp plan and whether they should fit and can fit within the city. And so one thing I also want to talk about is the notion that the public isn't informed about what we do. We make sure that every single project that happens in the city, whether it goes to traffic calming, building a park, building a road, there is a very strong public engagement process in that. We have several meetings to talk with our residents, get information to build our plans for parks or roads or whatever they are. Floresta Drive and Crosstown Parkway are two great examples of that. And I meet regularly by phone, in person, but I talk via email. I am very active on social media, constantly communicating with our residents because that is so important. Our city council and myself, we pride ourselves on the fact that we have robust public engagement processes, just like we did recently with the solid waste open house. And I speak to groups and individuals all the time. We also have city council meetings, and our planning and zoning meetings are all public meetings. And when development applications come through, notices go out to all of the residents within 750 feet of a development. So to say that we don't talk to our residents and they don't know what's going on, unfortunately, that's not true. And then when it comes to the city land that the city owns, I championed years ago that any land that the city owns to be kept for green space, because our residents want more park space and want more parkettes. So we're going to continue doing exactly that.
Okay, thank you. Chancellor Howell, same question. Is following the original plans of GDC the best course of action, or make adjustments?
Well, I'm sort of in between on that question because I believe we do have to keep in mind that people do have property rights. Basically, a lot of these empty lots that we see out there, Bobby mentioned their scattered plots or whatever, but they belong to someone. And a lot of those individuals who own them don't even live in the state. So it's incumbent upon the new homeowner. It doesn't matter so much for the people who are renting, but that homeowner to do their due diligence as well, because I've owned two homes in the city of Port St. Lucie, and both of them had empty lots. The new home that I'm sitting in right now, before I blinked my eyes, and I was inquiring about buying the lot next door to me, but it belonged to somebody who didn't even live in the state. All right, so the city cannot necessarily control that. We can't say on one hand that we have to continue to create affordable housing, and that could come in the form of an apartments or a person who owns a couple of plots and has the ability to build on it and rent that house out to someone. The last house that I rented, the company, the corporate office was in Texas. I'm drawing a blank. I think it was Innovative Homes or something like that. But they own like 30 single family homes in the area. So we can't say that we want to attract these Fortune 500 companies and don't have a place for the people to stay. And people who make the salary, if they grew up in the quote unquote projects or a smaller home, they want to be able to invest in something to live that American dream as well. So I'm in between. I think we just need to manage it as best we could.
Okay, next question begins with Mr. Johnson. Port St. Lucie has a tagline, "A city for all ages." But many of our high school graduates go off to college. They don't return, in part because of a lack of relevant jobs. What steps will you take to make the city more appealing to young people entering the workforce?
Well, unfortunately, they leave to go off to college because we don't have any universities here. And that's another issue that should be brought up. Why don't we have a high level university in Port St. Lucie to keep the high school people and give them a school to go to, and B, attract others from outside counties and outside states to come to a high respected university. And that's a whole nother issue. I know that's not the question you brought up, but that should be something that should be thought about. And yeah, we're a city of all ages, but yet, we have the mayor's little crew on Facebook that is, all about insulting the age and saying I look like I'm under 30, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, we need to try to develop our young minds that are in the schools today. And we need to literally invest into the schools themselves. And we have a lot, outside of being on the school board, we still have a lot of influence to try to get these schools to do better, because we have C-rated schools now that just pass by, and we need to be getting them to A-rated schools. And we need to have that little mini city feel, like I mentioned earlier, along St. Lucie River, bringing in those corporate jobs so that people do have a reason to stick around. But right now, they don't have a reason to stick around. There's nothing here for them. There's a bunch of scattered lots here for them. There's manufacturing plants here for them. You want to think about your future and go get a college degree, not to work at the Cheney manufacturing place that the mayor was bragging about. You don't want to go to college and then go work at the manufacturing plant making $15 an hour. It's no offense to anyone that's working those jobs. We need those jobs and we need those people, but we're not doing it right.
Okay, thank you. For Shannon Martin, same question. How do you make the city more appealing to young people entering the workforce?
So by having our economic development partners here is exactly how we do that. I was a member of the Workforce Readiness Task Force several years ago when we knew that there was a skills gap and that not everybody should have to go to college to get a great salary or to have a really great job. And so we embarked on a plan with the Economic Development Council and county partners to address the skills gap. And we also partnered with Indian River State College and our schools to bring back the technical career programs that we have in place. There has been huge advancements in Indian River State College, which is the best state college in the entire nation. And we do have a university here. It's Kaiser University, right in tradition. And so we also go out into the community and we have boot camps with our community partners. Our Economic Development Council has boot camps in place to get kids to learn trades and to put them in a position where they can be exposed to those jobs. And I've been talking about that for a long time, how you have to start exposing kids at the 8th grade level. We also partner with the Boys and Girls Club. We have city internships also for young people, so they can get a feel of what it's like to work in different types of jobs. And that is the whole goal is to continue to partner with our economic development partners like Cheney Brothers, like TAMCO. And to say that the jobs aren't great in TAMCO, if you've ever been in TAMCO and seen the high-tech machines that they have there and the amount of skills that you have to have in order to be able to operate those machines, you wouldn't sit there and say that they're really not high-paying jobs. And those jobs go all the way from executive level down to the entry-level jobs in order to give people the ability to grow. And we're going to continue those partnerships, and those partners are very interested in bringing our young people in and creating those partnerships to guide them in the future, to give them jobs, and to make sure that they have an opportunity to stay right here at home if they so wish to do so.
Okay, thank you for Chancellor Howell, making the city more appealing to young people entering the workforce.
Well, I know firsthand because I am part of the alumni of FedEx Ground. I worked there for 3 years and graduated from FedEx Ground University, their executive recruiting class that I had to attend as a region human resources representative. So I know for a fact that there are jobs in all of those that have been mentioned over there in the Southern Grove area that require a person to be a college graduate. Not everything over there is about slinging packages. In fact, Mr. Johnson, you're pretty crafty with the IT. They have a whole department of IT over there, and I know that firsthand. So, but what I believe we would have to do is create some success stories. And I know that the city hall does do some type of internship, basically. But I think the other companies, we need to hold them accountable as well, or ask them, would they do some internships simply so we could attract some of those individuals that went to the local high schools here and went away, but want to come back home, but they can't because they don't have jobs that are appealing to them. So working hand in hand with those companies, acknowledging those jobs that pay and require you to have a college degree, as well as internship opportunities for people who are in high school, but they want to pursue a trade like HVAC or something like that. You know, we can't discount them because I know a whole lot of them who make 6 figures. So we cannot discount that. So I think the internship at all levels of employers here should be something that we should help them out however we can to attract residents back here after they've gone to college.
Okay, Mr. Moses, same question, making the city more appealing to young people entering the workforce.
Well, first I'd like to make a comment on what Mr. Johnson says about some of the bullies on Nextdoor that support the mayor. And I've had many people call me and say they'd like to go on Nextdoor, like to go on social media to support me or maybe even other candidates, but they're afraid to get bullied or be called names. So I appreciate Mr. Johnson bringing that point up. I think we all know who they are. I don't think they're very effective, but it's unfortunate in today's world, that's what happens. To bring young people back to Port St. Lucie, we need a nightlife that they may enjoy, which we don't have. I'm not saying we should have it, but I think that's one of the problems that we have when you go to college and you know, and you go out to different locations. We don't have that in Port St. Lucie. That's a fact. I'm not saying we should have that type of lifestyle here, but we have to be realistic and say what's really the problem to get young people here. You can get a job, a good paying job in a lot of other areas. And I applaud all the efforts by companies to get people to come back here or to give jobs to young people. I support that. I've worked most of my life while I was going to school, always had a job or part-time job. And I know people come back when they get older and they want to settle down. It's a great city, but if you're asking just for young single people to come here, we have to realize that's one reason why they don't come here. And like I said, I'm not emphasizing that. I think most people don't want that atmosphere in this town, but we just have to take that in consideration. But I would applaud as mayor any organization to do internships for high school or for college and bring them back here. But that's definitely a factor that's working against Port St. Lucie.
Okay, next question, starting with Shannon Martin. The city has worked very hard to reduce taxes for homeowners over the last 6 years. Do you believe taxes should continue to be reduced? How will you accomplish that without reducing services to residents?
That's a great question. And so we've actually lowered the tax rate every year for the last 7 years now. That is a promise that we've made to our citizens over many years, that we're going to continuously look at our budget, evaluate the growing needs of our community. But every chance that we have that we get extra tax revenue in, we want to be able to lower the millage rate and give that back to our residents. And so we look at our budget all year long. We study it all year long. We're constantly meeting with the city manager. We're constantly meeting with staff to know what the needs are and what the wants are. And those are always prioritized and balanced out. In February, we start getting our first look about how the budget is going to be shaping up. And then through February into the June time period is when the city manager meets with all the different departments to determine what the needs of the organization are. All our capital projects that we've been working on and put in through our strategic planning process and embedded into our strategic plan that we implement on a daily basis. And then in July is our huge budget workshop where we sit for 2 days. We go over the budget inside and out, ask lots of questions. Our departments give presentations. We talk about what the needs are, and we also talk about how we can lower the tax rate. And I'm proud to say that we've done that. And we always look at the levels of service and to balance that out. And we're going to continuously do that as time goes on, because that's what we have to do. We owe it to our citizens to be able to provide a balanced budget, which is required by state law, and balance the priorities of the city and continue to lower the tax rate. And not only the tax rate, but also our debt, which I'm very proud to say we've reduced by over 36% in the last several years.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Howell, should taxes continue to be reduced? And how do you accomplish that without reducing services?
Well, I think it should be an annual ritual on behalf of anybody that sits on the dais to find ways to lower the tax rate for our citizens. I am not a proponent of, well, I am a proponent for raising taxes in an instance where there's a specific project that's been explained for the city that we need to raise taxes per se to pay for this. However, when that project has been completed, I don't think the tax should stay at that level. It should be lowered to a point where it's able to maintain that particular project, but not include what the cost to get the project done. And I think that's where we run into a lot of problems, that a lot of people don't even look at their tax bill, or sheet that comes in for various different areas that is broken down to include waste management and garbage collection. So the bottom line, we have to continuously educate them. And I know for a fact, because I've sat in some of those retreats, not in recent times, well, a couple of years ago, and the city does go over that. It's like watching paint dry, but guess what? It's a necessary thing to do, because the average citizen is not going to look at what they're being taxed for. But I think it should be an annual ritual to find ways to lower it, to create a positive impact on the bottom line for our residents here.
Okay, same question to Mr. Moses. Should taxes continue to be reduced? How do you do that without reducing services?
Well, we have an example with the new waste hauler where we're reducing service and yet we're paying more. And we're going to continue to pay more in hidden costs. I saw today where if you want an extra recycling can, it's going to cost $6.50, or no garbage can, it's going to cost $5, or it might be vice versa. We used to be picking up, Waste Pro would pick up unlimited yard waste. And now we find out when you get the new cards, there's a little message in there which says if it's more than 4 cubic yards, they'll charge you $18.50 a cubic yard to take it away, or you can put in your own car, of course, and take it. So everyone wants to, lower taxes and get more service, but with the new waste hauler, it was the exact opposite. As far as everything else with the mill, I was been informed that in 2015 or 2016, they raised the mill at a very high rate. And then they said for the next couple of years, we'll cut it down. I think that Ms. Martin was probably on the board at that time. And so when they say we cut it down, that was a plan from 7-8 years ago. I also am looking at the budget from 2021-22 on page 21, where it says the Municipal Police Trust Fund has significant risk, and the stock market is under the hiding of threats. And yet in 2022-23 budget on page 29, the threat is still there. So I would call the finance people in and say, why is the municipal police trust fund have a significant risk for investing too much in the stock market, which of course, if something did happen to that trust fund, the city of course would make good on it, but that might cause us to raise taxes. And again, the 4.8 million, the trust, the buying of the carts, the no bid contract, I would investigate that and see why we pay so much. So there's ways of doing it, and I'd be glad to do it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Johnson now, should taxes continue to be reduced? And how do you do that without reducing services?
Yes, taxes should definitely continue to be reduced, but possibly even at a faster scale. However, the way our current leadership has set us up, we cannot do it at a faster scale. It's kind of unfortunate. And something that me and the other candidates agree on is we need change in leadership. We all agree on that. The question is, how do we lower taxes and not services? Well, current leadership has proven that we could lower taxes. Well, we're going to go ahead and lower services too. And that's what happened with the garbage. As Mr. Moses mentioned, we saw a reduce in service because of lowering the tax. And we need to be able to lower the taxes without reducing the services. Chancellor brought up a good point as well. And we need to do a better job at budgeting. Our current leadership is part of a financial sector that she oversees. And in case anyone doesn't follow any of the city council meetings or look at all the paperwork that's entailed on what they approve, they're consistently approving over budgeted plans all the time. They just did two a few weeks ago with 80 additional golf carts for the Saints Pub and the Floresta Phase 2 going over budget. So they just think it's okay to pull money out of other budgets, now causing those projects to have less funds. And they're not looking at any kind of way to save money. It's like they don't even question it. They just go, I, and they all approve for it without even a second thought. It's very demeaning to the city. And we need to stop overspending, and we just need to do correct budgeting.
Okay, well, thank you. Our next question will begin with Chancellor Howell. What are your top 3 priorities for protecting our environment and our waterways in the face of climate change and explosive development?
Can you repeat that again, Carol?
Top 3 priorities in protecting our environment and our waterways in the face of climate change and explosive development.
Okay, so I have always considered myself a steward of the planet. That is not my area of expertise, but I have volunteered to attend and participate as a panelist with the University of Florida and FAMU IFAS extension program to learn more about the waterways. As a result of me living on the C-24 and also being a former boat owner, and I love to fish, it's very important for us to put whatever effort we can to educate the people who live by the water, who access the beaches, to not pollute them. I am all for STEM programs. I'm all for the recycle program. I can't wait until we get that back up and running to protect our environment. And I will continue to champion the pay as you throw program, because that directly impacts our environment, because the more people are recycling, the less they're throwing and mixing those items that could be recycled into regular trash that's going to be burned or put into the soil. And obviously that's going to create pollution throughout the air, and that's going to impact the clean air and energy that we have. So I am a champion for all of the STEM efforts. And obviously we are a waterfront country. not country, I'm sorry, a waterfront city. And I never forget the former Vice Mayor Linda Bartz pointing that out eloquently as she did. So we must put every effort we can to protect those natural habitats that we have here.
Okay, next, Mr. Moses, your top 3 priorities for protecting our environment and waterways.
Well, first of all, I would say zero pollutants into our waterways. I know there are different plans of how to get there, but as far as mayor and I believe the city council, we'd say zero pollutants. Let's work for that. Let's legislate, go down to Tallahassee. Let's go to Washington, D.C. and to make sure we have clean waterways. As far as the budget goes, I saw in 2023-24 budget, it was mentioned in this year's budget that they want to get some grants to have a smart city and to have some environmental projects and to start working on that. I think we should start working on this year, 22-23, and not wait a year since we have excess money from the increased valuation of real estate. And as mayor, I would never agree to what this administration did with Waste Pro, which was to agree and to go to court and say, we're going to stop recycling, which is what they agreed to. And that's why we don't have recycling. It's unbelievable. We're probably the only city in the world, perhaps our size, where we would agree to stop recycling because Waste Pro was not doing their job. And I know Waste Pro said, well, we'll start again in 2 weeks. Why did this administration even believe Waste Pro would do that when for the past 4 months, this administration has been saying that we can't trust them, they don't keep their word, we want nothing to do with them. And when Waste Pro came to the city council and said, we'll stop recycling for 2 weeks, you can trust us, they said, sure, go ahead. Instead of going to court and saying, no, we want recycling. We want a clean environment. And it's another reason why I'm running for mayor, because decisions by this administration, like stopping recycling, were horrible decisions, and I would never agree to it. And I want to make sure it doesn't happen in the next 4 years either.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, same question. Top 3 priorities for protecting our environment and our waterways.
So yeah, regarding the waterways, we just built 2 docks on the St. Lucie River with absolutely no separation of barrier. And you can easily, by the way, we're building a park at the edge of one of those. And there's going to be kids that are going to be walking right down that dock, throwing plastic and throwing stuff right over the edge into the water. And on top of that, we're not enforcing any kind of additional boat signs or any kind of authorities that are in the area. And we've seen boats just go through that river very, very quickly when there's dolphins swimming right there and they're just coming to the shore. And these motorized boats that are just screaming by, and there's nothing that we're doing about that whatsoever. So we need to enforce that. And I'm glad that Mr. Moses also brought up the Waste Pro. I saw the KVJ show. I'm sure a lot of people listened to that. And Jason from the KVJ show was showing pictures of how all this garbage in Port St. Lucie was in a lake because I guess there were certain residents that were around him that didn't know what to do with the garbage because it wasn't getting picked up. So it just went in the lake. Obviously, I don't agree with that. And that's terrible. But that was a result of a person that didn't care too much about the environment, but also the result because their trash wasn't getting picked up, and that lays in the city's hands. And the other issue is slowing down the development. Yes, we care about the way things look, and that's what the city is now finally focusing on is, yeah, let's make sure it has a nice design. But who cares ultimately about the design when it's more important to care about what is the actual business that's going up? What are you guys approving or zoning it for? And we need to really just take a deeper look into that versus just, it looks okay. It looks modern. That's good enough for us. Yeah, things should look modern, but let's actually care about what we're doing and do biophilic design by incorporating the land around it.
Okay, next, 3 priorities for Shannon Martin, 3 priorities for protecting our environment and our waterways.
Thank you so much. First, I want to respond to one thing. Um, If there's anyone on Facebook making any type of comments, they don't speak for me. I speak for myself, and no one else speaks for me ever. The police pension fund saying that is in peril. It is absolutely not in peril. The city council doesn't control that. They have their own police pension board that controls that. So that is also untrue. As far as water quality, the city's been the vanguard of water quality for many years now. It started with our EWIP project. Our septic to sewer program is in place right now. We are voluntarily asking our residents who are within 50 feet of the river to convert over and giving them grants in order to help pay for the conversion of that based on the microbial tracking study that we did several years ago. And we saw where there was bacteria going into the waterways. So we want to do our part to stop that as much as we possibly can. Also, our McCarty Ranch water quality project that we started several years ago, we've been able to secure a lot of grant funding from the state, and the state loves that project and loves partnering with us on that project every single year. We've built out 3 cells, and it's a 7-phase project. And we're going to continue making sure we're taking that water out of the C-23 canal. We're going to clean that water, take out the nitrogen and phosphorus, billions of gallons, and put it back so that it goes out clean into our estuaries. Also recently, FP&L has been doing LED conversions around the state in several different cities for their streetlights. We are embarking on that process of a citywide LED street conversion with FP&L. We also have there's 3 electric charging car charging stations in the city. One is at City Hall. One was built by Tesla in the Walmart in St. Lucie West. And we also have one at the Gatlin Park and Ride facility. So water quality is so important that we built it into our 10-year stormwater master plan. Almost every single project in that plan has water quality aspect to it. And that's how we get funding.
Thank you. Thank you. We do have some questions from our Facebook audience now this evening. And let's see, the first one, what city, we'll be starting with Mr. Moses coming up first next. What city or county commissions, boards, or committees have you served on?
Well, in Port St. Lucie, none. However, I feel that my experience working as an attorney with the Comptroller's Office, working with the Sheriff's Office, working in a lot of Citizens Committee in Illinois has given me the experience. I was the only one that went to the city council while the Waste Pro contract was in court. I was the only one who told the city council that what they were doing was wrong and it would end in disaster, the actions they were taking. And I was right. And this administration, the city council was wrong. So I think I've proven myself that you can run for mayor without being on a board or commission appointed by, of course, the mayor and the city council, who, of course, are not going to appoint anyone who's just not going to be a yes person. So I've proven that I know the issues and that I was right on the issues when they were wrong on the issue.
Okay, same question to Mr. Johnson. What city or county commissions, boards, or committees have you served on?
Yeah, so when it comes to the cities and stuff, I don't try to get too involved with that because you usually deal with the typical political bull crap, and that's what I'm hoping to disrupt. You know, I was a very non-political person before running for mayor of Port St. Lucie, and it's crazy to see how this clique, just like Mr. Moses said earlier, it's very bullying. You know, her and also the More with Morgan lady, who them both are just like little cliques, and they literally just develop around each other and support just each other, and that's about it. And they use a lot of bully antics, and they will go out and try to bully others and accuse them of bullying. It's kind of sad. But I spend a lot of my time volunteering at local churches, my home church, which is Christ Fellowship Port St. Lucie, and then growing up a lot throughout my life for the First Baptist Church of Wellington, going on mission trips and helping others, helping kids who didn't have parents, and basically just showing them love and being able to show them as like a big brother of how everyday life could be for them, because they're not used to seeing the type of love that we would show up with, and helping them clean up their houses and building houses for them. And, I'm very involved in that. And when it comes to the actual city perspective, recently now being, again, on the non-political side, I've very recently started diving into the budget, diving into all the little meetings that they have with all the information that they provide. So I'm going to be getting more involved and more focused, whether I win or lose. I mean, actually, if I win, obviously, I'm going to be heavily involved, and I'll have to be involved. But if I don't, I am going to make it a point to make sure that we are part of it and to start disrupting the city, because the city needs change and we're all tired of it. And I've gotten countless of imports from my website, jointhediscussion.org, of letting me know of all these issues within the city. So I'm going to tackle every single one. I read every single one and I respond to every single one. So.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, next to Shannon Martin. What cities or county commissions, boards, or committees have you served on in addition to the offices you've held?
So I've been on the St. Lucie County Transportation Planning Organization for 12 years now, as well as the St. Lucie County Fire Board of Commissioners, the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. I've served on the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council. I've served on the Boys and Girls Club of St. Lucie County for 10 years. And most recently, for the last few years, I've been on the board of the Humane Society of St. Lucie County. And when you are on the city council, you are required to serve on different boards to make sure that you are representing the city of Port St. Lucie on those boards. And it's also important to build relationships with your fellow board members, especially when they're from different jurisdictions, because we all have to work together as a city and a county to make Port St. Lucie and also to make our county as well the best it could possibly be.
Okay, thank you. For Chancellor Howell, same question. What city or county commissions, boards, committees have you served on?
Well, let me answer the question first. None. I have not served on any board. However, I have volunteered for Habitat for Humanity. I have volunteered for Toys for Tots. I have volunteered for United Against Poverty. And also in 2014, during my first run for mayor, it took me 2 months to visit, not only with the city manager, but with every department head that comprises of the city of Port St. Lucie, so that I could spend at least a half a day, in some instances, a whole day, to better understand how their particular area functions. I believe, because that has come up, and I think TC Palm, that was their rationale by endorsing the incumbent, that she had all of this experience. Well, she should. After 12 years, she should. All right. That's not a news flash to me, but I believe that is an ism to be part of the criteria to become mayor, that some factions, some schools of thought believe that to be the case. I'm not one of them. If you look at the charter, this is a weak mayor, strong city manager form of government. You also look at that charter, and also it requires the city manager to at least have a college degree. It's not the same for the mayor. Something's fundamentally wrong with that in my world. And from my point of view, albeit Shannon Martin is an intelligent woman. All right, let me throw that out there. And I like her personally. She is a smart woman. However, I have to make that comparison and contrast that is an ism to me. And I kind of have an idea who asked that question. So.
Well, we have a second question now. We move on here. A second question from our Facebook audience, and we will start with Mr. Johnson. Your thoughts on what the city can do to address climate change?
Well, we can do a better job at having incentives for solar panels and having incentives for electric vehicles. And I think a lot of what we discussed earlier with trying to protect the environment in many other ways, in such like development and the waterways and all those, the topics that we discussed earlier, those would all contribute to protecting the climate change. So, I can keep expanding on that more and more, but it's literally just a pointless, endless cycle that we're here. We have to slow down the development, stop the building. And it's not to just stop the building in general, it's just make smarter decisions on how you're building and how you're developing it, and not just saying I and not challenging anything. We literally see no challenges, and that's what we need. We need to challenge the system, challenge the people, challenge the developers, and we need to be more creative with keeping the environment intact without just wiping it clean. Right now, they just clean slate it. Everything gets wiped, and there's no planning involved. Yeah, it's hard work to hire people to come count the trees and see what species we can reuse where and what makes sense. But they're starting to do a little bit of that when they're looking at the new sidewalks and stuff and the new travel transit. They're trying to bring better trees that offer soaking up the soil with the waterways and such, but it's not enough. It's not nearly enough. And they're just now looking into it. I've yet to actually seen any kind of decent biophilic design yet, or any kind of implementation. But we have to stop wiping out the land. It's the only way to do it. Think smarter, challenge yourself, work harder, be willing to put the work in. That's it.
Okay, next, Shannon Martin, your thoughts on what the city can do to address climate change.
So I think I really pretty much addressed this already. When it comes to climate change, that's really more addressed at the state and federal level. But I mentioned the fact that we are the vanguard of water quality. Our stormwater plan has many projects having to do with water quality and addressing water quality issues. We did the microbial tracking study, so we have the septic to sewer program in place. I mentioned the LED street lights. I mentioned our land preservation plan that we approved earlier this year to make sure that we're holding on to as many city-owned parcels as we possibly can to keep them natural for conservation or for little parkettes that our citizens can enjoy. We're also putting in nature trails in many parks, and that is a result of our community surveys that we've given to our citizens and the citizen summits that we have every single year to get their input on what they want to see. And nature trails is something that has come out stronger and stronger every single year. So I mentioned also the electric car charging stations that we have. So we are doing all of these things to help address our environment, and in particular, our city and our county and our region.
Okay, next to Chancellor Howell, thoughts on what the city can do to address climate change.
We need to continue to be the champions for education along those lines. It saddens me when I hear people say that global warming and things of that nature is a misnomer. It's not real. All you have to do is turn the TV on and you see ice glaciers that are melting slowly but surely. We're here in Southern Florida, but that indirectly impacts, the planet. And we started getting hurricanes and things of that nature, at a rapid pace. I grew up here in Florida, but I don't remember the hurricanes, and knock on wood, hopefully we don't have one this year because we're in hurricane season. But all of those things really are real. And when they're happening across the country and across the globe, they surely can happen here. So we must educate. The mayor mentioned, and I know she's not lying because I've been to a couple of them, summits, retreats where the city does promote it. It's a lot of stuff that you can learn just by attending them. But you can't hold the city accountable if they host it and you don't show up to it to learn about it. The water is definitely important for us. We are surrounded by bodies of water here. The air is absolutely important. All of that can become an impact on the health of mankind right here in the city of Port St. Lucie. So education, 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 because it is handled at the federal and state level for the most part. We just need to champion it.
Okay, next, Mr. Moses, thoughts on what the city can do to address climate change?
Well, I think everyone realizes we're in a transition period between, let's say, fossil fuels and EV cars, and it doesn't help to sign a 10-year deal with waste hauler to use diesel engines, and maybe 5 years from now, some other company will come by with an EV car, truck that they can use. And I think what you have to do, I mean, we're not there talking about carbon footprints here in Port St. Lucie, but I think like when we remodel city buildings, we should make sure that we take climate change in consideration on the materials we're using. Perhaps when we do landscaping, we should look at different ways for landscaping for different developers. It's going to be a slow process, but we have to recognize that there has to be a process. And anything we can do, whether we start a new advisory council for individuals or organizations that can help the city make plans to help us with this climate change, to make our lives easier, I'd be glad to support and I would listen to. And I think that's where we have to look. But we know it's going to be a slow transition. It's, we saw the new bill signed by Congress where they're giving $7,000 if you buy a electric vehicle, even though the electric vehicles cost $70,000. Maybe 10 years from now, $7,000 will make a difference. But we have to keep our eyes open and we have to listen to people. And anytime new technology comes that will help climate change, we should grab onto it, whether it's for the building up in the city or anything else which is affecting events that happen in Port St. Lucie.
Okay, thank you. We have come to the end of the questions from the League of Women Voters as well as our Facebook audience. So it is time to move to closing statements. You'll have 2 minutes each, and we will start with Shannon Martin. So 2 minutes for closing statement.
Thank you so much. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum tonight, as well as Carol. You're always a wonderful moderator, so thank you very much. And I truly appreciate the opportunity to participate and to provide detailed and factual information about all the important matters in Port St. Lucie, our growing city. It's important to me to make sure factual information does get out there to the residents, and it's unfortunate when that doesn't happen, and it does happen a lot. And as I mentioned, I love serving our city. I love serving our residents. I love working with our community partners to improve continuously on Port St. Lucie and making it, like I said, the best city it can be. I want to continue being your mayor, and I will always put the needs and wants of our community first, always have, always will. I'm very proud to have the support of TC Palm, the St. Lucie County Chamber of Commerce, the Treasure Coast Builders Association, the Professional Firefighters and Paramedics of St. Lucie County, the Palm Beach Treasure Coast AFL-CIO, the St. Lucie County Realtors, the Port St. Lucie Police Officers, Sergeants, and Lieutenants Association. I'm so proud that all of these important organizations in our community have put their faith and their support in me. And I'm going to continue to working on infrastructure, keeping our city safe, building on our economic development, making sure we have proper sidewalks in place that are so important to our residents, continue to champion our parks and all of our water quality efforts as well. And there's just really one more endorsement that I need, and that's your vote, Port St. Lucie. I hope you will continue to support me. I want to continue working for you. I love working for you, and I want to be your mayor for the next 4 years. So thank you very much.
Okay, next on 2 minutes, the closing statement, Chancellor Howell.
Yes, I'm glad that I went after the mayor because she rattled off at least 10 or 11 endorsements that she's received, and I commend her for that. But that signifies that she's an establishment candidate, which it also shows that a person that has been in office as long as she has, there's little room for change and stagnation. I am not an establishment candidate, and something is fundamentally wrong. Think about this, people. Something is fundamentally wrong how you can have a field of candidates and without even doing as the League of Voters is doing, and you all a non-endorsement type of entity, but even taking the time out to have a conversation with the other candidates. That signals to me that she's part of the establishment, and it is what it is. That's what we've had the past 10 years. It's time for change. The city of Port St. Lucie uses the term diversity, all right? But they use it loosely. Something that's fundamentally wrong when you have a national holiday such as Juneteenth, all right, that was totally ignored by the city of Port St. Lucie. There is no mention of it on the website or anything else. It's something that's fundamentally wrong with that. And I can't let this opportunity pass by without highlighting that, because it starts at the top. It starts at the top with the mayor. And whereas I like her and hold her in high regard, that is an area that I think we're lacking on the understanding of true diversity, not only on the dais, but in other areas of the city.
Okay, next, Michael Moses for the closing statements.
Yes, first I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for having this forum. And as Mr. Howell says, most of those endorsements that Ms. Martin received, I never received a questionnaire. I never received an opportunity to talk to those people. So as Mr. Howell says, it's just the establishment helping the establishment. And they're probably very happy what's going on. But I've been campaigning hard the last couple of months, talking to people, passing out cards. And a lot of people are not happy what's going on, and they don't know what's going on. And that's why I keep on going back to this transparency issue of talking to people. Where's the traffic plan? Where's the zoning plan? What's happened with the green space? People have no idea, no idea. And I will make that a centerpiece if I'm elected mayor. As I said, I was the only candidate here who went to the city council and said, this is wrong. What you're doing is wrong. And it was, and I was right, and they were wrong. And I'm an independent thinker. And you may notice when the mayor says, well, this group told me to do this, and this group recommended this, and that's what we did. I've been to many council meetings, and there's no dissent from task force recommendations or this other organization from the staff. It's just like, yeah, let's just do it, because they're just very happy to go along. And that's why there's no independent thought, I don't think, on this council. I can do the job. I would not be running if I didn't think I was qualified to do the job. And I would do a great job for the people of Port St. Lucie. I ask for their support. You can look at my website, Michael Moses for Mayor, PSL.com, for information on the issues. I'm also on Facebook. And my email is Michael Moses for Mayor, PSL@gmail.com. If there's any questions, I will do a good job. I will represent the people. And thank you very much for having this event tonight.
Okay, thank you. And now Robert Bobby Johnson for the closing statement.
Yes, saving the best for last. I love it. So first off, yes, thank you to the candidates for all showing up here. And you guys have all provided very good information, and it all sounded very truthful to me. I know one person here doesn't want to believe it, but you know, that's obviously because she is concerned, and she has a right to be concerned. The leadership right is doing bad. We understand that. So let's go ahead and disrupt the current thinking of what the current leadership is doing, and let's get out with the old and in with the new. I'm prepared to actually put the work in. And as I continue to do, my main focus is going to be surrounding infrastructure. We keep hearing about the infrastructure, but we're not really seeing it. And if we hear about, oh, well, it takes time to plan. Yeah, we understand that, but we need to plan in the right way and in the right order. We keep doing things backwards, and that's why we keep running into all these issues on our roads. We should have been focusing on our roads years ago, not after the fact when people are already living here. It's obvious to a lot of people, to thousands of people, that there's an issue. So, the people are tired of it, and I want to hear your feedback. So go to our website, jointhediscussion.org. On the primary page, you will be able to submit any kind of questions you have. We're going to be dropping some interviews here in the next few days, and we're going to be doing some live videos on a daily basis on jointhediscussion.org. And we're going to address all your questions and concerns. So everyone who keeps sending them to me, keep them coming. We're going to address every single question that comes up. And I really look forward to you guys' support. But keep in mind, I can't do this without you guys. I need you guys to just bring your license and hopefully go to the nearest facility and vote. We have early voting starting on Saturday.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. We want to thank all of the candidates for participating in the forum tonight. We certainly want to thank the League of Women Voters for creating all of the questions and bringing everybody together. And also for everybody who's been watching and listening, thank you for informing yourselves, finding out about the candidates for the upcoming primary election. And remember to vote. Early voting begins on August 13th, continues to the 20th. And there is always election day. That's Tuesday at the 23rd. Sabrina?
Thank you. Thank you, Carol. And thank you again to the candidates who have certainly taken time out of their schedules to come before you, the voting public, to really make the case, if you will, as to why they should be selected for the important office of mayor of Port St. Lucie. Certainly, we could not have done this without the support of Carol White and WPSL, as well as our other league members who definitely make sure that we are asking very relevant questions to candidates, because you as the voting public really do need to make the best decision for you and the community. So please consider joining us tomorrow. We will be back before you at 7 p.m. To also talk to the candidates who are vying for County Commissioner District 4. And I certainly would not be remiss if I did not remind you that vote411.org is where you can go in, put in your home address, and customize your ballot, if you will, to get information about those candidates in which you will be considering voting for. Thanks so much for your time. Thank you, Carol, again. And please be safe and have a good night.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.